What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So before I get into this video, I want to give a big shout out to the brother Tomiko for the $15 donation via the PayPal. Much respect to him for showing love once again to Too Raw, in this instance, Too Raw for TV. So, one of the things that was talked about during last night's three-point contest led by Reggie Miller and the crew is that, basically, the fact that there are more points in this era of three-point shooting, more points being accumulated or accrued by members of the contest, is proof that the shooting is better than it was in the past. Now, one thing I will admit is that on a grand scale, yes, you have more guys that can shoot the three than you did in the past. And maybe even it's true that you have guys who can shoot off the dribble better, shooting from different angles, maybe even a little bit deep, all right? Yeah. But that is not to take away from the fact that there were players in the past, like Reggie Miller himself, Dale Ellis, Peja Sijakovic, Rashawn Leonard, Steve Kerr, Tim Legler, Drazen Petrovic, Chuck Person, Elliot Perry. I mean, these are guys just come off the top of my head. The Wizard, Walt Williams, Dan Marley, Jeff Hornacek, Danny Ainge, Michael Adams. I think Michael Adams' three-point percentage was soar in today's NBA because he would get a better look at the basket, being a diminutive player. Craig Hodges. I mean, the list goes on and on. I get tired of the fact that a lot of analysts act like there were no shooters in the NBA before like 2009 or something. It's just ridiculous. Allen Houston, John Starks. I mean, it's crazy. I can keep going. Kevin Martin, Kyle Korver, Jason Capono. Yeah. But anyway, this is what they're not telling you. Today, in today's three-point contest, right, the players, or the contestants, I should say, when they're shooting, they get 70 seconds to shoot each round. They get 70 seconds. Back then, it was a quicker pace. They only had 60 seconds to shoot. That's a lot of shots to get off in so few a time period. It's 70 seconds now. Also, I can't remember exactly when it was when they introduced the money ball. I think it might have been in the late 90s. But back in the day when Bird was winning it, there was no there was no money ball rack, which adds points. That's sort of like, how the trick they pull when I bring up the fact that, hey, all these guys that shoot a lot of threes, like James Harden and Steph Curry, well, back in the 70s, their scoring averages would have been like 4 or 5 points lower, per game lower. Steph Curry, the year that he averaged 30, well, guess what? He would have averaged 24. Why did I say that? Because he made 402 three-pointers, which was roughly, I think, close to 6 points per game more than he would have averaged in the 70s. So take a guy like, Pete Maravich or Jerry West, who averaged 30, 31 certain seasons. Man, I mean, what would they average in today's NBA? Their field goal percentage would be a little bit lower, perhaps. But then again, maybe not. Now that I think about it, no, their field goal percentages wouldn't be lower. And I'll tell you why. Because less defensive resistance, When they're driving to the basket, they're not having to be challenged by a Wilt Chamberlain or an Artist Gilmore or a Bob Lanier or any big man. There's no centers. Zelmo Beatty, a Wes Unseld patrolling the paint, either blocking their shot completely or altering their shot to a point where it's a low percentage attempt. You don't have that. There's no resistance. Very little. So they would shoot higher percentage. But anyway, that's the same thing. So you have more time to shoot during the racks, more points because of the the 3-point ball. And then another thing is that when Allie DeForest was interviewing Cat, she said that he was the quote first big man to ever win the 3-point contest. Well, of course, that's not true. That's not true. He's the first center, but he's not the first big man. Dirk Nowitzki was the first big man to win a 3-point contest. True, he's a power forward, but he was a 7-footer. And do people remember that Kevin Love won the award, won the contest? Kevin Love was a power forward. But this is another example of how they try to manipulate young minds into overinflating the importance and the prominence and the greatness of players of today. I've been saying the same thing for years. It's not that I'm picking on the players of today. I'm picking on the agenda because they're doing the same thing. Look, the way that they were praising Kevin Love and all these other guys, comparing Kevin Love to Moses Malone, I was saying this shit 10 years ago, 11, 12 years ago. Now they're not even mentioning Kevin Love anymore. You got people that tell you Kevin Love was a bum. You see how they just manipulate? They don't give a fuck about these players. All these people are a hype man for a product. I care about the history of the game. They don't give a shit about it. So that's my point in this video, man. Tell me what you guys think.